So here's my task from the day. I'm gonna disassemble this whole rack and assemble those. And there's a bunch of parts in a couple of these that I want to reconfigure, some stuff from the old project I want to remove. And while everything's apart, I'll kind of show you what I'm doing with it all. Hey y'all, welcome back. Christmas week this week. I had a ton of time off. I only worked Monday. So because of that, I had a ton of time. I spent almost 40 hours working on the house. And I didn't record every day, but I recorded a lot of days. It made for pretty long videos, so I'm splitting this week into two. So you get the second half of this week next week, and that'll be good for a couple reasons. One is so you don't have a super long video. But the other one is up until now I've been recording all my content is legit like edited Monday night and the video is published Tuesday morning. And I'm recording up through that Sunday before and then editing on Monday when I get home from work, and then when I get home from work on Monday, and then uploading it that night and setting it to publish in the morning. So this will allow me to have a week buffer in there. Week-long buffer, so if I want to go on a vacation, I got some friends I want to visit, stuff like that, I won't have to skip a week of content or anything. So that'll be nice for that. And I hope to do the same thing this week. I only work 2 days this week because of New Year's, and a great company I work for that allows that kind of time off for the holidays. But I got a lot done. The first half of this week's video is going to be mostly computer stuff. So if you're not into that, feel free to go ahead and skip on over to the second half of the video. I kind of go through a bunch of stuff up in the IT room, and then I work on the bedroom a bit more. And it should be fun. I had a few questions, a few people asking me questions about why I'm showing some of the stuff that's not actually working on the house, and that's because a lot of the stuff, almost everything I've seen on YouTube is people buying a house and then they're renovating it. That's great. That's awesome. There's lots of stuff to be learned from watching that whole experience. But nobody's actually living in the house while they're doing it. And when I look on Reddit and I see the home renovation subs and the DIY subs and stuff, the number one complaint that people get from their spouses is that the house is torn apart while they're living in it. And I happen to be fortunate. I don't have a spouse. I'm a single dude living here, so I'm not going to get that complaint from anybody except for myself. But the reason I'm showing all that stuff of me moving around the house and all that kind of non-renovation stuff is because that's the stuff, if you were to do this and you got a spouse, you got kids and stuff like that, they're going to have to deal with that kind of stuff. That's just part of living in a house as you're tearing it apart and working on it. They're going to have to deal with a bathroom not being functional. They're going to have to deal with you're using this area for tools, you're doing this over here. And that's the stuff that you don't see on a lot of the places where people are just kind of dropping by, working 9 to 5 or hiring contractors to work on it, and they're living 10 miles down the road. So that's, and I find that kind of interesting, and it poses its own problems because you just have to deal with it. You have to live with it. And it's not tiring to me. I've lived in some weird places and stuff, so it's just what it is, not a problem. And then I had another question. I can't remember that kept popping up, and I can't remember what it was. So if I remember what it is, maybe I'll toss it at the beginning of next week's video. In the meantime, I picked up another dozen subscribers and stuff over the last week. So welcome to the new folks. It looks like people are still watching the original moving video, so odds are you guys have an idea what I'm actually doing here. But welcome to everybody to the channel. Thank you everybody for sticking around and continuing to watch. It's fun watching it grow. I've been posting a few things on the Instagram. There's a link below for that. I haven't started posting to the blog yet. I will soon. There is a link below that, but it's just linked to these same videos that you catch here on YouTube. But do hit like. That seems to help in the algorithms, and comment. That helps as well. I respond to almost every comment. So enjoy the video. And if the electronics thing isn't your thing this week, don't worry. There'll be plenty more non-computer stuff next week. Thanks. So here's the insides of the side-by-side micro ITX boards. I've already stripped what I'm removing out of this one. But basically, it's a quad-core AMD, super low power. It's low enough power that it actually just has a single 12-volt power supply, and it's actually just a power brick Velcroed inside the case with an IEC on the back. And it uses a little laptop memory. It has 5 serial ATA ports, and then on the bottom side, there's actually 2 M.2 slots. So I have a cable extended out just in case I want to add one, and there is a drive, M.2 drive on the bottom side. And then it has a sled for a 3.5-inch drive there, or 2.5-inch drive. But an interesting little case. Picked them up for free. I'm going to do the same thing, pull these. And they have, I added these eSATA ports a long time ago, and there was some rack mount RAID arrays where the controller had died and they're proprietary. So I figured I could just run some eSATA to the drives, and then that turned out to be a terrible experiment because eSATA is an awful connector. So I'm just stripping these. I'm going to pull the drives. I had some drives in them. And there's a whole bunch of drives in these various cases. So I'm going to pull them all, set them aside, figure out the best way to sort them out and what to do with them. This is inside one of the handbrake servers. I'm not actually doing any work to this at all. They're fine. If anything, nope, they have these, the USB headers. They're pretty simple. They're AMD 3600Xs. I don't remember the RAM, but it doesn't really matter for just doing handbrake. It uses almost no RAM. The smallest video card, cheapest one I could find, I think they were like 40 bucks or something. They're like some Zotac somethings. And that's just because these don't have GPUs built into them. And a handbrake doesn't really use the GPU anyway. And then I have a single 2.5-inch SSD for the operating system, and then one for the for handbrake to read from and one to write onto, so they're not reading and writing on the same drive. It probably doesn't really make a difference, but it works great. These will tear through 4K movies pretty quickly. Even the little AMD ones I just showed you will tear through 280 stuff really quickly, but they choke on 1080 and bigger. Yeah, so these are just, I'm just showing you this, and it's going to go back together. I do need to actually swap out these fans for something meant for a 2RU server that's blowing the air that way, because they do get warm. They don't throttle, but they do get pretty warm. This is inside one of the empty cases. They can handle a pretty big motherboard. They have 6 drive spots and then 3 5.5-inch bays, so you can jam these with quite a bit of drives. It's not, you don't get the hot swap goodness, but they do come out fairly easily. You just pop that out and then slide that forward and the drive comes out. And I don't remember what these drives are, but I'm setting them aside for now. Figure out what I want to do. But I do need, basically I want to build one of these into a gaming server and then build the other one into a Proxmox backup server, so it'll back up the Proxmox cluster. All right, now we're back to the new servers. So what I'm getting out of these is a couple 500 gig SAS drives. I'm just gonna toss those. A 200 or 320 gig drive, I can toss that as well. Maybe take it apart, make coasters or something. So those are junk. But these, I know the history of all these. So there's 5 3TB drives. They're all mine. I know the history of them. They're doing great. So I think I'm gonna stick 2 in this one, 2 in the next one, and then these are 2TB drives. And again, I know that I bought them. I know the history, so I think I'm gonna put them in the third one. This I had sitting in the drawer, along with this Samsung 850 EVO 250 gig, a stack of 240 gig drives. These OWC ones I bought, so I'm gonna use these for the boot drives on these servers. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of the SSDs. But that's kind of what I got going on here. SSD mounted up here. I popped the RAM in it. I don't actually have the mounts for these drives yet. but I'll figure out a way to pop them in here for now. And then I've ordered them, the mounts, they'll show up soon enough. Yeah, so let's get, oh, and another thing is these have VGA ports for video for doing the initial setup. And I don't have any VGA monitors, but what I do have is a VGA to component cable and a DVI to component cable. And my little rack mount monitor takes DVI, so I'm gonna see if that will get me through the setup on this. So I'm not getting anything on my rack mount monitor. So I plugged in my TV and it looks like I broke it while moving. I guess maybe I can check the TV downstairs, see if it has a component port on it. So this is kind of obnoxious. After trying my TV, I broke it while moving. I mean, that's a DVI-I, so it should get something on it because it can take analog. And then I looked up the eBay ad and it listed 2.2 gigahertz. And then I looked at a different screenshot and it said 0. And sure enough, there's no CPU. So I gotta go buy 3 CPUs now. So I guess I'll continue on with this project. I'm still gonna put the rack back together just to clean up the place a little bit. And, but it'll be ready to go when the 3 CPUs show up. So I'm going to whip together a quick little rack for all that stuff. And this is a nifty little trick. If you use 1/2-inch plywood, you can do a measurement of 20 inches for your 2x4s at the bottom of the rack. And you'll get the perfect width for your 19-inch gear. So just follow along as I do this. I'm going to slice this diagonally and then I'll cut the 2x4s to length and we'll go up into the IT room and assemble everything. So I cut the 2x4s into 2 lengths. One that is 20 inches, that goes across the front and back of the rack, and then one for the length of the rack. In this case, it's 32 inches. And now I've taken my diagonal and I set it across there. I'm gonna pop these screws into the bottom across here. The length doesn't matter too much as long as they go in to the 2x4 far enough and they don't go out the other side. So with the 2 pieces, I tip them up so they're standing up on end. I'm just gonna zap screws into each end. Make sure your 20 inches goes across the top of these, and then I'll flip it over and do the same thing on the other end. So when you assemble this on the other end, just make sure the end of your 2x4 is flush with the end of this. And then when you mount your rails on the inside, they'll be just about the perfect distance apart. I did make a mistake on that end. Those are flush with the end of it, and they shouldn't be, so it's actually not square, but it's okay for what I'm doing here. So, and then for exact placement of the rails, just drop one of your rack mount units in here. You see these line up just about perfect. And then so drop it in there, go ahead and get it loosely attached so you can still wiggle it a little bit. And then get your rails just flush with the front. And then these screws don't have to be very long. You don't want them to go through your side piece. So I think the ones I have are 1/2 inch, and they're just gonna zap them every, I think it's 1, 2, 3, every 4 holes all the way up. And that'll give it plenty of strength to hold the rack. And that's basically how I built the other rack that's sitting over there. And at some point I'll get around to actually building racks into this room. But and then these rails, so it cost $70 for all the supplies to build this one little rack. And except for these rails, I bought them ahead of time some time ago on Amazon. It probably cost me $10-15 for a set of rails. And there we have it. It's all on its rack. It can roll around. When the CPUs come in for these 3, I won't have to downstack the entire thing and then restack it all. I can just slide them out, pop the CPUs in, fire them up, do the thing. On my very first trip to the hardware store, I bought a bunch of lights, and I accidentally bought a bunch of floodlights instead of whatever the hell you call normal lights. And so I'm just kind of swapping out any incandescents left with some of these floodlights wherever they fit. They just kind of work. They'll work for now, and then I'll figure something out. But this is gonna be my closet. I'm gonna start cleaning up this room today. I have an actual light fixture to swap around in here. Then I'll start moving my stuff up here. But this one, the pull string is missing, but I managed to find a couple fixtures as I was going through the rest of the house. So I'll go ahead and swap that out. So this is one of them I found. It looks good. It actually has a outlet on it, but it turns out I didn't need it because the chain was actually just inside, which is fine because the wiring in there is, I don't really want to mess with it too much. So, but now I have light in the crawl space, and it works again. I pulled the old AC unit out of this window. So this is a good example of a small thing that doesn't seem like that big of a deal when you look at it in the store, but then in reality, it's fucking stupid when you're trying to deal with it. So I have this piece of wood now screwed into the floor to block it because this box is mounted to this 2x4 here, but it's on a lever. And because of that, I can't push in to get the new outlet in the box because the box just pushes away from the outlet. So I had to put this piece of wood in here to wedge it in place so I can get the freaking outlet on. So I finally cleaned up the room the rest of the way. I still had cobwebs all over the place, all over the wall, so I got that all done, taken care of. I still need to push some things up here, but as you see, I got my stack of boxes from the big room downstairs up here. I need to move my bed up here, and there is a dresser I'm keeping, so I can move that up here. But I can't actually move a lot of the bed and whatnot until I get somebody to help me because that mattress is foam and it's really heavy and floppy. I know from experience I can only get it about halfway, about 4 or 5 steps up a stairway, and then it just gets too heavy and hard to move. So not every project goes as planned. This is the old light that was hanging in the corner over here. It has a molded connector inside, so I can't figure out why it's not working. It had power at the top, so I removed it, and I was putting in a different fixture that I got and solving that problem. Got the light in, as you can see, it works. And then when adjusting it, that mount broke. And also those screws up there, for some reason, are binding in that junction box. So I guess that'll just have to stay like that until next week when new parts arrive. I got a whole new fixture coming up, and I'll replace the fixture out back that was causing problems in the rain a couple months ago. This is one of the boards I pulled from the original shelving in the IT room. So I've marked the length. I'm gonna use it to do the shelf in the closet. And the closet's actually tall enough. I may do a second shelf up there. But it comes down to about here. So I'm gonna cut it there, and then I'm gonna cut this roughly in half and use it for the end pieces. And then I have a few scraps from the pink bathroom shelf project that I'll probably use as supports in the center area. So I've cut it to fit in the closet, and it only fits one way. So I went ahead and wrote back on it. So that side always goes to the wall. And now I can build the little pieces to actually mount it. And then I'll paint everything white and screw it all up, and I'll have a shelf, and I just need to get a rod when I go to the hardware store tomorrow.